Hello and welcome to the NetSurian Q&A series. Today we're going to take on a fallacy that is popular among small and medium businesses, that they're simply too small to be hacked. Why is this wrong, and how can you address this fallacy on a budget? The argument goes, I've got nothing of interest to attackers. Little old me, why would anyone care? The answer is that if you are in North America, you've got stuff that's of interest, and you all have always on high speed internet. And so that's very interesting indeed. The other argument is security is already solved by my vendor, Microsoft, Cisco. I paid money to them. They've taken care of it. I've got news for you. That is simply not true. And a third argument is, look, I mean, the users are the weakest link, but my users are actually pretty smart. They don't click on foolish email that says some prince in South Africa is going to give them $50,000. They know not to do stupid things. Well, the bad news is that your staying away from danger doesn't mean that danger stays away from you, especially when all of your assets are plugged into always on high speed internet. And you know what? If you're using things like Office 365 or Dropbox or Google Docs or even just email, and who doesn't have email these days, guess what? You are a target. It's because of how the cybercrime economy works. It's based on attacking small and weak targets. You've seen the National Geographic Channel, right? What does the predator chase? They don't chase the big old elephant. They chase, in fact, the slowest gazelle in the pack, and you see them coming down. That's just the way it works. Big companies have the ability to mount serious defenses. And while it would be nice to get one of them down, it's unlikely to happen. So the wolves and the predators and the cheetahs are chasing after that slowest gazelle. They know that a small company, if they get ransomware, for instance, probably not going to hire a data recovery specialist, that they're probably not going to file lawsuits, which big companies might. Instead, they will feel intense pressure to get back to business because survival depends on it. Every day that goes by that you can't run your network becomes a question mark whether you will survive this episode at all. Therefore, you're much more likely to pay ransom or do what the attacker wants you to do. We used to see this in the old movies, the mafia tactic for protection, right? How the racket went was the guy would show up and say, nice business you have here, to the mom and pop. Be ashamed if it burned up, and extort them for protection money. This is that way. So then what's an SMB, a small medium business, to do? Well, first, before you spend another penny, why don't you maximize what you've already paid for and have? For instance, if you've purchased Windows 10, Windows 11, guess what? Microsoft has built in a bunch of security tools. They're free. They just need to be enabled, or they may be already enabled. Make sure you use that. If you're using Office 365, for example, you can enable multi-factor authentication. Yes, it's a problem. Every time you need to log in, you'll have to also look at your phone and put in a 6-digit code maybe, but that's very important to improve your security. If you're going Office 365, you also happen to have, free of charge, Azure Active Directory. Are you still depending on that old rickety Active Directory machine that you have back at the office? Well, why? Why not take advantage of what is it that Microsoft already given you? Much more hardened and kept up to date, no extra cost to you. If you've paid for firewalls and network devices, all of those vendors provide guidelines on how to harden them. Please do follow those. But you know what? In 2023, you cannot stop here, simply because all the bad guys know that this is par for the course. And so you need to think about just a few additional things. For example, vulnerability assessment, a good way to identify if patches are missing so that you can do it. All the bad guys are looking for weaknesses. And so if you look for those weaknesses yourself, that would be a good thing. Adopt an assume breach paradigm. That means you know that in spite of all the defenses you laid down, at some point there is going to be a successful attack. Are you performing detection? Do you have some mechanism for response? Are you able to perform mitigation? All of these are provided in a very affordable package as part of NetSurian's Essentials. You can get it for a very low number, an economical, easy to digest number. And this would put you in the middle of that pack of gazelles. You don't want to be toward the end because that's the guys that get picked off. Thank you for your attention.